To cull or not to cull? If this was Shakespeare, it would end, that would be the question. But really there is no question here. Culling is a necessary activity. It's just a matter of how it's undertaken in today's society. And whether or not there is an opportunity for improvement. Whether there's an opportunity for multiple benefits to come from the activity. I think we're all smart enough to understand that in today's society, there's multiple facets to any sort of undertaking. And we need to see whether or not we can capitalize on those multiple facets. So in South Australia right now, the hunting community is fighting helicopter gunships going in and wholesale slaughtering deer herds. Sounds absolutely atrocious. When you see the videos, it looks absolutely atrocious. What's happening here is these helicopter gunships are contracted by the South Australian government using federal funding to a goal of eradication of deer in South Australia by 2032. It seems like a laudable goal, right? Deer are non-native species, they don't belong in Australia, and as such, organizations, groups, government have made it a priority, a conservation priority, to eradicate them. Getting rid of them should be good for native flora, for native fauna, and Australians writ large, right? This idea of a conservation ethos of eradication of non-native species is an ethos that is prevailing through the conservation community in Australia for decades. I would challenge that. Honestly, that ethos is archaic today. I need to challenge it. We all need to challenge it. Is there a better way? Is eradication the solution? And I say specifically archaic because of the ever-evolving conservation and resource landscape and societal landscape that we live in. South Australia actually may be the perfect opportunity to test a new philosophy around conservation. Here's where South Australia gets super intriguing very, very quickly. The current Minister of the Environment, Susan Close, has taken it upon her shoulders to absolutely get rid of bow hunting in the state of South Australia. Why? Because she is championing the idea that bow hunting is super unethical, is super inhumane to animals, and if you want to see how we actually debunk that and used science to show that it is actually ethical, that it is actually humane, just check out this video and you can see everything that we needed to say about the subject. So if you want to see what's actually happening in South Australia, go check out Jake Nicholson's Instagram. You can see videos like this that show the after effects of this helicopter culling exercise. It should absolutely hurt everyone's heart, right? Whether you're a hunter or non-hunter, and even specifically the anti-hunting animal rights organizations, groups, people should be absolutely up in arms. Susan Close should be absolutely up in arms. But there's a deathly silence coming from Susan Close, coming from the Ministry of the Environment, coming from the RSPCA, coming from all animal rights organizations, hundreds of them in Australia. Why are they not saying anything? Why is it that hunters, compassionate outdoorsmen, conservationists, people that actually care about wildlife are the only people saying something about it? I don't have to point out the hypocrisy here, right? The hypocrisy of Susan Close saying bow hunting is unethical and inhumane, and helicopter culling being completely okay. Now, I'm not saying it is an unnecessary activity. I started this by saying culling is necessary. Hunters cannot manage deer populations by themselves. You need to cull, you need to reduce the population, you need to suppress it. I don't believe that eradication is the conservation ethos or the conservation goal that needs to be happening on the ground. These deer have been in the Australian landscape for 175 years. They're an integral thread in the fabric of the Australian outback and the Australian landscape, just like kangaroos. And just like kangaroos, they need management. So yes, culling is necessary, but is there a better way to do things? I think there is a better way. And here is the proposed conservation solution. Let's get rid of the idea of eradication. Eradication is incredibly expensive. Just look at any sort of restoration project around the world where eradication was the goal. 80% of that job costs 20% of the money. The remaining 20% of eradication costs 80% of the money. So why not have a goal to reduce populations by 50, 60, 70%? Then includes some sort of resource management system like hunting that benefits both the economy of a state, the economy of rural towns and communities, the economy of small farmers that are leasing these grounds to hunters, that are essentially going to struggle on an annual basis depending on climate and drought and cattle prices and sheep prices and wheat prices, that they get an extra income because of a cherished resource and value of deer hunting by hunters. How about taking one step further? The 60 to 70% that is culled, how about recovering the carcasses? Oh, it's too expensive. Oh, it's too thick. You're already fronting the costs of the cull. That's 80% of the money. Just pick up the carcasses that can be picked up in the open, maybe not in steep terrain, maybe not in heavily forested terrain. But if you want a case example, just look at New Zealand in the South Island, the Fiordland Wapiti Foundation. They do this all the time in an environment that is probably the most inhospitable of the world. They call it the Amazon on top of the Himalayas for a reason. They recover the carcasses. They give the food to the hunters for the hungry programs. They put it into the food chain. Why can't you do the same thing in South Australia? How about a laudable goal that there's not a single person in South Australia that will ever go hungry again because of the valuable, abundant resource that's on the landscape called deer? How about changing that conservation ethos of eradication to one of resource management that includes society and the ecosystem? Society, how about a mission where no Australian goes hungry ever again? It's totally possible, given the rich resource of deer on the landscape. Plus, you'll be saving a bunch of government money. Plus, you'll be infusing money into small rural economies and farms that are desperate for that money. Plus, you'd be putting organic, healthy, free-range meat into the food chain for people who desperately need it, to people who will pay a very high premium of cost in a supermarket to get it. This archaic thinking of eradication needs to be tossed in the bin. We need to be thinking like resource managers, like society managers. It sounds like a pipe dream, but it is totally possible. There just needs to be someone with courage to say, let's do it. Someone with courage in the government that says, let's attempt it. I can absolutely guarantee that you will be patted on the back to the end of the world because it will work. What's more ethical? Utilizing the resource or letting it rot on the side of the mountain? What's more economical? A blended system where people are gaining money, the government's not spending money? Or a taxpayer-funded effort that seeks eradication at the end of the day? Let's be honest. South Australia's open borders. You planning to put a fence around South Australia? That's how ludicrous the idea of eradication by 2032 is. Susan Close, you could be the amazing Minister of the Environment by saying, look at what we can do with our resource, not letting it waste on the side of a mountain. There is a better way here. There is a better solution. Culling is necessary. So come on, if you look to the future and you think about this system in place, are there any pitfalls? Are there any downfalls to it? Is it helping Australia fauna and flora? Yes. Is it helping rural communities, farmers stay alive, keep this lifestyle cherished, moving forward? Absolutely. Are hunters involved? Are hunters gaining value? Absolutely. Are people in need being fed? Absolutely. Are governments spending less money in achieving the same goals? Yes, and yes, and yes. Let's just do it. Somebody be bold enough to say, let's pilot that. Let's do it.